Recording in progress.
Okay, good morning, everyone. It is April 15th, 2025, tax day. Just to remind everybody, get your taxes in or extensions by the end of the day.
I've got to go.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding.
Already done that. Yes, and F1s if you're an elected official. There you go. So it is 9:06, and we have all five commissioners are present. Let the record reflect that. We've got a busy schedule this morning, so we will go ahead and get going with Mike Burgess.
Morning,
And-
Commissioners.
And I should state that we are in our hearing room this morning as our conference room. We're having issues with the Zoom link in there, so we are all in the hearing room this morning. So thank you for joining us.
For sure. I'll just jump right into it. We have a little bit less than 2 weeks to go.
They're trying.
The next major cutoff is tomorrow at 5. So that's Senate bills have to be off the House floor and vice versa.
Mike, we may have
those
to
are
have you just talk a little louder. We're having problems with the volume in here.
Oh, okay. Is that better?
No.
I'm talking pretty loud.
Okay.
So,
We'll see what we can do. Thanks.
Okay, so but anyway, on Wednesday is the 5 p.m. is the cutoff. So House bills have to be off the Senate floor and vice versa. Those are policy bills, not bills that are going to be necessary to implement the budget. The first notation I have there is operating budget and tax proposals. I guess it is fitting that today is tax day. Because the word is we're going to see a new round of tax proposals from both the Senate and the House. They already have hearings scheduled on the Senate side to have hearings on those tax proposals, and those will be, there's rumors abound about what they will be. Could be similar to some of the things we've already seen. I have heard that there might be an increase in the capital gains rate that the state, the capital gains tax the state already has, and then maybe an across the board B&O tax increase, and then increasing B&O on higher earning companies as well, and then also a bill to, or a new tax to apply the sales tax to professional services. I don't know the details of that yet. That's a proposal that's been around in years past. It's been kicked around when there's tough budget times, but we'll see those. You'll probably see news stories on those in the next 48 hours, 72 hours. So that's kind of where we're at. And then once we're done on Wednesday, we'll spend almost all of our time out on the House and Senate floors with some hearings thrown into the mix. Next point there on the capital budget, just letting you know that negotiations are ongoing. The capital budget is non-controversial for the most part. The House and Senate do have to come to an agreement, and we have a number of projects that are in that budget that you're aware of that we talked about a few weeks ago when they were released. We'll do our best to hold those projects in the final agreement. But we'll probably won't see that until the middle or the end of next week in terms of what's on the final project list. A few new bills that Jeff and I had talked about wanting to just make you aware of more than anything else, that they're all moving or have moved off or out of the legislature. One good and two probably that will be challenging for you on the labor side. The first is 1791. It's the bill dealing with REIT flexibility. I gave you a link there to the bill report, but this has been around for a long time. It's just never passed. I think the easiest way to say it is it harmonizes REIT 1 and 2 amongst a few other things. It's a good bill that Wasac's been working all session. I just hadn't mentioned it to you because it had been moving. But should give you a little bit of increased flexibility as you're dealing with your budgeting. So we just wanted to make you aware. I don't know that you need to take a position on it formally. If you want to, great. But it is moving through the process. It does need to make it off the Senate floor in the next day or so. And then the next two, is Jeff there?
Yes, Jeff is here.
Yeah, Jeff, if you don't mind, and I'll just introduce these two. You might have had, Jeff was, I think, at a conference last week and heard about these and wanted to make you aware. Um, 5503 deals with collective bargaining for public employees, and then 5041 is what's kind of being referred to as the UI bill. That's the unemployment insurance for striking workers legislation. That passed the Senate floor, or excuse me, the House floor. 5041 passed the House floor over the weekend. It was narrowed down from 12 weeks to 4 weeks of unemployment insurance for those workers. Just give you a point of reference because the bill report's going to say 12, but it was amended on the floor. Jeff, do you have anything to add on those two?
The main point that at the Wasatch conference they pointed out was the bottom point here, where the county would no longer be able to do a settlement agreement where the employee would waive rights to future claims. So in reality, there'd probably never be a settlement again because the county wouldn't have a reason to settle if claims could still come forward in the future. So that is one that Wasatch has been against for that particular point. And but it sounds like it's going to be passing. So just an FYI, really.
Okay. And then Commissioner, just again wanted to make you aware of those. Jeff had heard about them and they're going to pass. And then just wanted to follow up on the bill list that we've worked off of and give you updates on where things are now. The first bill is 1135. That's that local government planning bill that we had some real problems with to begin with. Worked with Scott Chesney and then my other county colleagues and got that bill to a better place. I probably should move the opposed just to a neutral position because the bill's different, but it's already been signed by the governor. That's why you see the code number there, the statute number. The next one, solid waste handling, that's the one we talked about 2 weeks ago that would have some problems in kind of removing some of your local control, your local authority. Senator Riccelli has an amendment to the bill as it sits right now on the Senate floor that should address those concerns. I work together with your colleagues in the public health world and in the solid waste world with Wasatch, with those groups, and got some information to him, and we've seen that amendment. The amendment hasn't hung yet, but I would anticipate it would, given the prime sponsor of that amendment, or the sponsor of that amendment. So the bill should be improved based on the problems we saw, or you heard from your staff last week about it. The next one, 1218, competency evaluations. That bill has been problematic all session, but it did not move from the Ways and Means Committee meeting prior to the cutoff last week. So it should not be in play for the remainder of session. Knock on wood, though, sometimes things have a way of being referenced in budgets that show up. And that bill, if I believe, might add some cost savings to the state as it would have pushed costs down onto you. So that could make it fodder for something that budget writers would look at. But I think it would have moved by now if that were going to be the case. The 911 bill moved off the floor with an amendment that is very similar to what I shared with you a few weeks ago. I think it's basically the same amendment, and it will go back now to the House for, I would anticipate their concurrence, and then go to the governor. 1813, the medical assist reprocurement bill. Commissioner Cuny, that's the one that you had testified in favor of, I believe. It is moving. It's on the floor calendar. It just needs to move out, or excuse me, it's in Senate rules. It needs to move to the floor calendar and then be moved off the floor before Wednesday at 5.
Mike, Mike, on that
yes.
one, do we think it's going to get out of rules?
I do, but I need to check with my colleagues. But that one also might have some more budget implications where it might not be subject to the time frame or the cutoff. But I need to double check on that.
Okay, thank you. Just let me know if I need to
Sure.
make some calls.
Yeah, I will.
Okay,
The environmental crimes bill did not make it out of the House Appropriations Committee, so it is no longer going to be under consideration this year. Though I do think that bill will be back next year, assuredly. I mean, all these bills will be alive next year, but I think that bill in particular will be back. And then the growth management plans, that's the timeline extension bill. It has passed the House, and it was not amended in the House, so it should just go straight to the governor. It just hasn't been delivered there yet. That can take sometimes a few days to happen. So at this point, kind of hurry up and wait and see what's going to be in the budgets and how these things all fit together, and what the different revenue levels will be, and look for how those things might impact the county. But most importantly, paying attention to the capital budget, and then at this point, mostly monitoring these bills, because the ones that we had problems with have been fixed or going to be fixed, and the good ones are moving along. If you have any questions, please.
yeah, any questions for Mike? Commissioner French?
This is not necessarily a question for Mike, but just an update for my fellow board members. The one bill that we did introduce to add some additional flexibility to TIF legislation died because the port districts objected because they thought that TIF would impact their revenues within their port district boundaries. And I did meet with the executive director for the Port Association. It was clear that he just didn't understand the bill and didn't understand the provisions that are available to protect the port districts. I mean, port districts aren't impacted in it. So it was just gross misunderstanding by the leadership, and we'll deal with that and reintroduce it next year. But other than that, it got a lot of good support from other elements that wanted to see it go, but the port districts pretty much killed it. Is that consistent with what you've heard, Mr. Burgess?
Yes, Commissioner, and I think, there's other entities involved too. So the fire districts, depending on which one, have had issues with just TIF over the years in general. So I think we have some, if it's going to be a priority bill for you, because it'll still be alive next year, we can still use that same bill. If it's the desire of you as a board to move forward with it, there's probably some conversations that would need to happen this summer, much like you had with the port folks. But I don't think it was just the ports. I think there were others involved, but the ports were certainly a part of it. And it's not all ports either. It's some of their membership.
No, it was really the leadership is what I was told by a couple different legislators that are supportive of the bill, but said we've got to be able to educate the ports about the impact for them, and he felt that they were overreacting, and the fire district commissioners did come out and endorse the bill as well as others. So anyway, there's a lot of good stuff there. We just need to engage in more education between now and next year.
Mike, I'm just going to ask because I can't remember. Did the bill pass on extending the Growth Management Act from June to the end of the year?
Yes, I probably just glossed over it too fast there at the end.
Okay.
That was the last one on your bill list. Like, it's 58.
Okay, sorry. Thank you.
55, 58.
Signed by the House and approved by the House and Senate, now goes to the governor.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Any other?
So I might,
Commissioner Jordan has a question. Just a second.
Just FYI, Mike, I reached out to Senator Riccelli on 1813, the crisis dollars bill, just asking if he could help get it out of rules. So I haven't heard back. I'll let you know if I hear.
That'd be great, because I'll text him too today. Was on my list.
Commissioner Kearns is saying it.
Well, it looks for second reading. Is that what that is? Oh, never mind.
I don't know. Anyway, it says it's in for a second reading, so we'll see.
1813, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, but it's when it says pass to rules, it's still in the rules committee. It's not on the second reading calendar.
Okay.
But it needs to move.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you, Commissioner Jordan, for doing that. Okay, any other questions or comments? Do we think we're going to get everything done by the end of the month?
I think that today's developments with the tax proposals coming out, with 12 days to go, does put them on a path to get out. The interaction with the governor's office is certainly different this year. So there's kind of that. I don't want to say it's a wild card, but you might have, I can't remember if we had talked since the governor came out and said he would not support the wealth tax, which was a component of both the House and the Senate. So that's led the House and Senate to kind of recalibrate the taxes they're going to do. I did hear yesterday that the revenue proposals will be in the neighborhood of 12 billion. That's a 4-year number. So conceivably 6 billion a year, though most of those taxes really ramp up in the out years. Their budget shortfall is really most problematic in the next year, the biennium, because those whatever tax proposals they have would not have kicked in by then. So that's a long way of me saying, I think there's always these rumors that they're going to go special session. I think the actions of seeing these new revenue proposals maybe make that less likely, but also knock on wood for that too. So
Okay.
a lot of
Thank
late
you.
nights between now and the end of session. They went last night till about 2:30. I stuck with them till about 1:30
Wow.
on the House side, but the Senate gets adjourns much earlier.
Wow. Interesting. Okay, well, thank you for sticking with us through all that and hanging in there.
For sure. I'm happy to do it, but as always, just reach out if you need anything.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay, next on our agenda, we have Todd Woodward with Spokane International Airport.
Washington Public Ports will hold their spring meeting in Spokane in mid-May. So the executive director and the entire leadership, and then they break their meetings down in terms of committees. So there might be an opportunity to address their legislative or their economic development or their growth or whatever, just as an opportunity. And if I can help you in any way with that, just let me know. Cool, thank you. We're here today for the approval of a joint resolution to approve the purchase and sale agreement for a land acquisition at 5410 South Craig Road. Is it me or you? Okay, go ahead. Thanks, Ron. The parcel is in orange, as you can see, 1.62 acres. The other two to the right in the dash line are properties that we recently also came to you and approved for the same reason in terms of it's not compatible with the existing land use. And we acquire these properties as they become available. And if you could just look to the left of that orange solid box, we bought another property that came before you from Mrs. Atchison maybe a year ago as well. So we acquire these properties as the landowners come to us. We don't go out and solicit. They typically, as Mrs. Parker did, approached us, as did Mrs. Atchison and the other landowners as well. See the existing property. You can see everything in yellow is what the airport board owns, and this would be just a continuation of that total 1.62 acres, which includes a house and a couple of outbuildings as part of the parcel. The land is inside Airport Compatibility Zone ACZ3, which allows us, it's again incompatible with the county and city airport overlay zones. So that's part of the justification for acquiring it. And you can see again the two other parcels we also similarly acquired for the same reason. It's also inside the proposed noise contours for the runway as well. Next. And then again, on our airport layout plan, which is the summation of all things within the airport master plan, it also shows that this parcel is available for purchase. The current owner is Carolyn Parker, 5410 South Hayford Road. It's residential property. The zoning is light industrial as it's inside ACZ3. There are compatible uses that could go in there. 1.62 acres of land at the valuation of $282,500. Valbridge provided our MAI appraisal to approve the purchase price. And the requested action is to approve the joint resolution authorizing the purchase and sale agreement with Carolyn Parker in the amount of $282,500. The revenues would come from general airport revenues for the acquisition. Are there any questions?
No.
Very good.
Seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Nice to see you all this morning.
Yeah, nice to
Right.
see you as well.
Take care.
Thank you. Okay, next, that's going to take us to Dr. Zing.
Morning, everybody.
Good
Sorry,
morning.
it was not quite prepared yet. Well, hope everyone's doing well. Thanks for having me again. This morning, I'm asking for your approval to renew a bunch of agreements. So we have our interlocal agreements with the coroner counties surrounding us that we provide services to. There are a number of those counties in eastern Washington and northern Idaho. Those agreements are 2-year agreements, and they are expiring or have expired. So I'm just coming before you today to ask you, we haven't changed the agreements really significantly at all. We're just trying to renew them so that we have those agreements in place. So for today, on today's agenda, I think as attachments, you'll see all of the interlocal agreements for the counties that are needing renewal. We are adding 2 to our current set of counties. That's Whitman County and Grant County. They have a private pathologist who goes around and does autopsies for them. But when that person is on vacation or is ill or can't do autopsies for whatever reason, they've asked that we be the backup to them. So it should not add significantly to our caseload, just offers a backstop in case they have an emergent case that needs to be done. Any questions for
Any questions for
or
Dr.
do you
Zing?
need more explanation? I'm not sure. Sorry. I know a lot of you are aware already or all of you are aware already that we do these services.
Yes, and I think the question is always just making sure as we renew these contracts that we're adequately covering the costs, that the outside entities are covering their costs associated with them.
Yes, yeah, we do every year look at that, the fee schedule to make sure that the costs are covered. And yes, again, we're covering our maintenance and operations costs, the staffing costs, and then we sort of amortized into the agreements the cost of replacing org equipment, like the bone saws and so on, and maintenance on our X-ray equipment, the full body X-ray and the CT scanner. So yes, we currently are still covering all those costs.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Are there any other questions? I don't see any. Dr. Zing, though, I will be reaching out to you this afternoon to, we have a joint city-county meeting on Friday that we may want to see if you're available to discuss kind of what's happening in, kind of update us on the first quarter of this year versus last year. So I will give you a call later to discuss that and see if you're available on Friday morning.
Sounds good. I'll wait for the call.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. That's going to take us to Judge Leland. I see him in the back there.
It's very exciting for me to be here. I feel like I've been brought to the principal's office. I have a handout, don't use the PowerPoint, didn't know how that was all going to work, so.
I would say it's probably better that you come here than us go to
Yeah,
see you.
Yeah, no, and you can tell I haven't been here very often. Well, welcome to each of you. I'm from the District Court. I'm Judge Leland, and it's an honor for me to be here today to speak to you. My topic today, I could speak on a couple of hours at least. I don't know that you want that, 5 minutes at most. The materials I'm giving to you kind of go into detail as to a pretrial grant. I was sitting at a meeting of judges on December 17th, and there was an application, an opportunity to go for a few dollars out of $140,000. And I said, okay, I'll go ahead and do it. I was the last person standing. So we received a letter from the AOC, which is the Administrative Office of the Court, in early January, saying that we won the lottery. We got $7,100, and you'll see it is the top document that you have. Since then, we've been moving forward. We hope to hire an intern. We are looking to create videos and so on. Videos is one of the things you'll see, and we want to thank the county and specifically Sharisha for assisting us at this point. What are these videos all about? In criminal law, a lot of people may have limited capacity to read in all of this. Some people just need a little bit different way of looking at things. And I kind of see this as a pilot project, not only for district court, but for this county as a whole. I've actually studied the website, and what we're thinking about doing, and we've made some substantial steps, would be to go ahead, and you can see a narrative in those documents as to where we're going with this, and we've created one. It's actually pretty good, and it gives people an overview of what the district court is, what they can expect, how they hire a lawyer, and all those kind of things. So you see this occasionally out and about in your travels. We're going to do it. The AOC we're the only one in the state doing it. Believe it or not, we're the only one. AOC is very excited about it. So that's kind of what we're doing, a very nominal amount. What's exciting about this, though, is not the video and it's not that other stuff. It gets me out and I'm seeing how things work. I'm seeing how departments communicate with departments, not only in criminal justice, but otherwise. And I think we as a county have a lot of opportunities there. And I'll be reaching out to each one of you. What I'm seeing is that we need to talk with each other. We need to communicate better, and I'll take total responsibility for that. Why that's important in criminal justice, I'm sure that, and I see the sheriff here and others, at some point we're going to need probably a new facility to house people, and I think you're going to want people that can speak and put sentences together, and I think the more we talk and more we communicate with each other, the better. So that's kind of it. As part of this, collateral to this, we've had meetings, and you'll see the correspondence with Yvonne Jones. She's the quarterback or the person that is heading up this pretrial grant for for the AOC. And we have talked her into, at no cost to the county, at no cost to the district court, having 3 experts come, actually 2 experts coming next week. And the 2 experts coming next week are experts in pretrial affairs and so on. In my thinking, though, is, and I'm directing them to not only talk about pretrial things, but change. Here's what I'm seeing from my little perch and my little visit around the county over the last 3 months. And I'm seeing and I just took some notes here. Change is inevitable. How do we prepare for change? Do we lead or do we follow? How do we adapt to change? What can each of us do to prepare for change in our delivery services? What are we doing? What are we doing? How are we changing things? How do we come together to make that change come about? How do we get management to actually buy into change? How do we prepare our employees for change? How do we come, and very importantly, how do we overcome resistance to change? In my little project here, I'm seeing quite a bit of resistance. And so these people are going to speak on Monday afternoon, and here's why I'm even bringing it up. Between 4 and 5:30, they're going to be in the little room by the coffee shop in the Superior Court building. And you'll receive a personal invitation from me to attend or partially attend or whatever. We want to show good presence. My argument with AOC now is this is a small grant, but it's the application for the larger grant. We're one of 2 entities in Spokane County that received a grant, this and Cheney. The only component or the only tie to that is I'm the judge out at Cheney as well. So we want to do, we want to show our presence to them, and then we've kind of talked them into, or someone to coming back in June, a Friday in June, and I'll kind of put that, or maybe put that on your radar. And what we're going to be doing will be an extension of this change idea. The pretrial services, I think the people in the court system and criminal justice understand the processes. It's how do you get them together and communicating together, and how do you get them to buy off on change and all this. So I find it very exciting, and that's about it. This is a little grant, not worth, we've gotten $7,100 of value right now. And we want to thank the partners that are helping us with these videos. We do have one. Sharisha has it available, so if you want to take a look at that, she can give you an idea of what we're thinking. But it's pretty darn good. We have to do a little bit of editing and so on to it and making it better, but I visualize that video all the way through the county. All the way through the county. Yep. So, any questions?
So I'd say thank you very much, and I would say make sure, knowing about Monday may be a little tight now on everyone's schedules, but make sure we know for June, so that way we can get that, kind of scheduled
Sure.
out on our
The
calendars.
one in June, we're going to try to go off campus if we can, but we don't have a lot of money to do that, and so we're trying to think of ways of doing it. Maybe Gonzaga will provide the sandwiches. We've got a little budget here, and so that's kind of the thought. Get us away from here, but then get us all together to talk about change, resistance, and those kind of things. And I'm sure that you're kind of seeing the same thing as I am. I'm just kind of new to it, but I will be reaching out to each one of you for sure to discuss this and other things. So that's it.
Very good.
Appreciate your help.
Any other questions or comments for Judge? No? Okay.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Scott, sorry.
Hey, Judge, thank you for the overview. As I recall, if this is the right grant, this does not have any indirect or administrative costs that are allowable to take. There's only the direct costs that the AOC has approved.
Yeah, Scott, I'm not sure. I don't know really your question. The grant is what you have there, but if you're getting to costs of us being involved with human resources, and those, is that what you're speaking to?
Yeah, indirect costs are oftentimes the ancillary cost to support the grant. So in this case, to go and hire an intern to procure, for IT to then procure the equipment, for grants to then administer the grant, those sort of things. I don't think this has a reimbursable component in there for it.
We are willing to pay out of our pocket for that, Scott. If you send us a bill, we'll gladly pay it. No question about it. We've had, and that's one of the reasons why I went ahead and provided you with a copy of what Human Resources has done.
Great.
And to see what they did and all the time that was invested in that. You'll see a document from Leland to, I believe, Heather, and you'll see about how much time she actually devoted to that. We did have a good meeting with her, I do say that, and it was part of my discussion here this morning. With regard to Sarissa, she has helped us with these videos. We do have money in there. We are willing to pay the county whatever the going rate is. But we would like to know that now so that we can, actually, we've been thinking about going to the community college and getting someone there, someone at Gonzaga or something. So if we're going to get a huge bill, and I'll go ahead and send an email to you, Scott. I would like to know that right now or soon hereafter so that we can pivot and go a different way. With that said, this is a pilot project for the entire county. And so you can kind of see that I'm excited about it. I think it's going to work, but there are indirect costs. But if we're going to get charged for it, we'd like to get the bill sooner than later so that we can pay it out of the grant, and then we can pivot very easily, very easily. We thought through that. Actually, what we did was we were thinking about going through the community college and their program to begin with. As a courtesy, we reached out to one of your team to actually see if they could assist us, and they gladly did it. Pat Bell has been very good. Sarissa has been excellent, but we're willing, send us a bill. But we would like to get the bill sooner than later so that we can pivot, and we will pivot as necessary.
No, I appreciate that, and we definitely want to be supportive of grant opportunities that come through for various departments. I think acknowledging that there's costs associated with those is important, and the board's been talking about this just recently on a couple of grants that didn't have it in there, so we'll be working with them on maybe updating our policy on it. A grant this size is not going to have a big bill associated with it. It's just acknowledgement that each and every grant dollars that we get and grants that we have, there are some additional costs. We just want to recognize and make sure that the department's recognized as well, so I appreciate that.
One of the things is we can handle all the legal stuff internally. We can handle all of this really internally. It was a courtesy to reach out to Human Resources. They were valuable, but look at their work product after what they received. We did have a good meeting with them. One of the benefits of the meeting was with Heather was she was able to give us an idea of possibly reaching out to the Fairchild and having someone be able to assist with regard to kind of an internship kind of thing. That was our big takeaway way there. What I was surprised, I'm glad you're bringing all this up. I was surprised, do we have someone this is a question for all of you. Do we have somebody in the county that's looking for grants? That would be something that maybe the board can discuss. You can see what I did in 24 hours, but I would be more than happy to sit on a committee or be involved with that. But there's a lot, I'm not sure what the state cutbacks and all that, but there's money out there. You know, we're working hard and we are trying to make stuff happen, but if we create obstacles, Judge Leland and others aren't going to be doing any of these applications, I guarantee.
I just want to mention that John Colton, we've hired as a kind of federal lobbyist, but he's got a lot of insight into federal and state funding sources. So if we need to connect the judge, I'm sure we could do that.
I know John. Yeah, I would. Yeah, absolutely. Why don't, I'll be sending you an email, Commissioner, anyway. If you can connect me with John, that would be great.
And I just
good
wanted
resource.
to also say thanks for the idea and the creativity. I think it's a real good concept. And every $7,100 helps.
Mm-hmm.
And if it can create a product that helps people navigate through the court system, I appreciate your work on it.
The big return on this is not necessarily those products. It's getting people to talk to each other. It's breaking down some of the silos between the different departments. We've had jail tours. We've worked with the prosecutor's office, the public defender's office, pretrial services, and it's kind of exciting. But you have to have almost a catalyst of something like this to get people to come together. So huge. What's the criminal justice budget in Spokane County? It's pretty huge. So, you know, we're there to be part of this. So anyway, thank you so much.
No, we appreciate it, and it's probably about 70% of our general fund goes into the criminal justice system.
Right.
So.
And pretrial, at least for district court, is probably 60% of our budget. We have pretrial, we have a probation department, and we have trial. Not so necessarily in the Superior Court, but it's absolutely huge. So how do we tweak it? And then on this change thing, how do we get people to buy off? How do we get people to buy off on change? And then how do we get people that are going to be able to go out and speak confidently with regard to the new facility if there's going to be one? So I'll be reaching out to each one of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Judge. Appreciate it. Oh, Jeff McMorris, our CFO.
Quickly answer his question on grants. Just met yesterday with a lady, Pia. I pointed to Amber, she connected me. GSI, excuse me, Commissioner Waldron, I apologize. GSI has hired through a grant, a person for the community to use for grant writing, and they're focused mostly on Spokane Valley and the county. John Colton and I just met with her yesterday. John has also put together an AI tool that we can use through his company that does a quick search of mostly government, maybe a little bit of philanthropic, but mostly government. So she is working on both identifying grants that we could use and the application process, which is the more timely side. We only have her through the end of June at this point because that's when the grant goes away, but this is prime season for grant application. So these are three good months. I'm happy to connect you with her if you like.
Sure, absolutely. Like I mentioned before, this is the application for the larger grant. So that's how I see it. Very small grant, but it's exciting about what we're doing. And these videos are going to be, you'll be amazed. One of the things is they want us to make these generic so they can be used throughout the state. So anyway, it's kind of interesting. So we're coming up with these. You'll see these hitting our website for sure by July 1st. For sure, absolutely. So
Very good.
anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Oh,
Sorry,
Commissioner Walper.
just one, so I think that the point that Mr. Simmons is making about building in, that's a great opportunity as you think about writing the larger grant. What are those indirect costs that could be built into that next larger grant? And so, I think that's a good idea, because there are general
No,
fund,
we absolutely need to do that.
but so I think this is a small start, and it's awesome, and I'm so glad that you are trying to bring everyone together to communicate and across the justice system. So I'm eager to learn more about these consultants here. But anyway, I think that's a great opportunity as we move forward as a county. What is that formula for knowing how much per hour to build in for different indirects? And so then we can cover all those costs as we have, have a tight next couple of years. Our budget's looking very tight, so grants are a great opportunity.
See, I picked this up on the 17th, got this out the door the 18th. I didn't even know that there was a policy. I didn't know that there was a grant policy. I had no clue, absolutely no clue. And so I, in good faith, sent this out the door. You'll see the work product there. But I think it's fair. The problem, though, is what we want to try to do is we want to create incentives for people to do it and to not create a bureaucracy with regard to this. We'd still be talking about this potentially, and the window on that was fairly tight. So, but we need to create incentives for people to look for them, create incentives for people to just do it. I didn't take any format. I just went ahead and did it and got a little bit, but anyway, it's all good. Thank you so much.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, next up we have Chief Don Hooper.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm here along with Sergeant Cam Karowski. He's our training sergeant. So we are here for a renewal of our contract with the Deer Park Airport. We use it for emergency vehicle operation training. We've been out there for about 15 years. Last year we only spent about $450, and I think this year we're looking at $1,200 as the entirety of it. So I think we're here because of indemnification language. So, any questions about
Any
it?
questions?
Just part of the old airport we lease for training our.
Yes. So I think that the question is using that versus using the county course that we already have.
And we've been using this for 15 years. We just have not opened up discussions with the sheriff's office. I think we did this prior to us being aware that they had the training facility. So I'm knowing they had the training facility, but not the course, the race course. So I think that's something we need to do this year as well as firearms. So.
Yes, because as our budgets are getting tighter.
Sure.
And again, this is where Judge Leland is absolutely correct that we cannot continue to have the silos that we have, that we need to be working and talking together. The sheriff is right here, so.
It's available. Sure. Yeah.
So do we need to spend the $1,200, or do we just choose to start to use the facility we already are
We'd be open.
paying
We'd be
for?
happy to come back in a week and after we've had some discussions. Like I said, I wasn't even aware of their track until this last week. So
Okay.
I knew they had a firing range. I didn't know they had a track.
Okay. So yeah, so I would say, yes, I would. if other commissioners are okay with that, I would like to have you come back. Oh, Commissioner
I guess the
Kearns.
question is, are you gonna charge them more than $1,200 to use your facility? Okay.
Sure. Sure. There was a, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry, Mr. Simmons.
Go ahead, Scott.
Well, I did strategically place Chief Hooper in front of
Sure.
the sheriff before he got here to ask this, to bring this very thing up. But
Sure.
maybe you could also share with the commissioners the purpose of EVOC, who uses it, what do you use it for, what's the training that the team receives?
Really two different things. Our officers get in driving training. So emergency vehicle operation, basically, in case, we're not chasing people, we're not pursuing people like the patrol does. We're just trying to get out of a dangerous situation. Basically, J-turns, reverse, get out and evacuate the situation. The other thing we train our officers on is the big rigs. We do transports 4 or 5 days a week to Ellensburg, north and south to the other counties, and operating our big 12-passenger vehicles as well. So.
Okay, I think
Okay.
we'd like you to have that
We'll open up
conversation and
discussions, no
start
problem.
that.
So we still need to just start discussing the firearms too and availability on the range as well. So we've been doing what we've been doing for a long time prior to the training center. So.
Right. No, I
Okay.
appreciate that, because like I said, it is gonna be, every dollar is gonna matter
Sure.
in the next couple of years, and so we wanna
Well, I
make sure. that
apologize we
we're-
wasted your time.
Oh,
We'll come back
hey,
if we.
You didn't
if
waste
we
our
come up
time.
with
This
it.
is how we have the discussion to
Sure.
say we need to all be, working together, and the sheriff knows we want him to work together as well.
Sure.
so- Which I know he will. But I think it is, to Judge Leland's point, and I saw it when I was an employee at the county, that there's just a lot of departments that, have been doing their thing and doing it, and we need to, in order to really come through this budget crisis that we're gonna have, or budget, challenges.
Sure.
I know, I keep saying crisis, challenges. We do have to be thinking outside the box and really looking at what we have, what we've already spent the money on as a county, because, yes, it sits in the sheriff's department, but the sheriff's department is also funded from the general fund. So, those are the things that we've got to really look at, and Spokane County is unique in that, the sheriff is not over detention services. Maybe he, yeah, as everyone says, no, they don't want to take it back and just keep it on the commissioners. As you know, other counties, most other counties, it's, under the sheriff's office. So as commissioners, I think we just want to make sure that we're all really working together, because it's truly, a joint effort.
We'll take care of it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
So
thanks.
appreciate it. So yes, as Scott strategically did that, then we have the sheriff next.
Well, to the board, thank you for having me. And just know that we should not be paying to rent the Deer Park Airport for any kind of vehicle operation courses anymore. That's just my perspective, as you all invested into that emergency vehicle operations course. We shouldn't be paying outside contracts if we don't have to. So obviously there's time, there's some availability, we'll make it work. So reason I'm here in front of you today is, most of you are aware, and I've had individual conversations with each of you, is that the Board of County Commissioners has the responsibility of setting the sheriff's salary, and has been that way for quite some time. And some of you are aware, because you've been through this process several times, of adjusting the sheriff's salary. Some of you, this might be your first time through this process. Over probably the past 15 or 20 years, we have about every 7 or 8 years had the salaries of the people who work for the sheriff outpace the salary of the sheriff. I think the last time the Board of County Commissioners changed the method of funding the sheriff's salary, or setting the sheriff's salary, was about in 2018, if I remember correct. At that time, the board chose to tie the sheriff's salary to, I believe, 90% of the prosecuting attorney's salary, which is set by the state, and by RCW is supposed to be equal to the Superior Court judges. And at the time, that did bring then Sheriff Knezevich's salary quite a bit above the people who were reporting to him. Unfortunately, what we have come to realize in the last 7 years, particularly in the state of Washington, but certainly nationwide, salaries of police officers have outpaced almost every other job classification that has similar responsibilities nationwide, but particularly in the state of Washington. And it is now, with the settlement of our 2 commissioned deputy contracts, we settled the DSA contract. We have not finalized the Lieutenants and Captains Association contract yet, but there is a Me Too clause in the lieutenant's contract that automatically attaches to the DSA contract. So we have settled the wages portion of that for both of them, and it would now push almost everybody who reports to me in command staff salary well above my salary, and bringing my lieutenants soon to be within a couple of percentage points of my salary. So I'm here today to talk to you about the idea of tying my salary to that of my undersheriffs and asking you to set my salary 5.6% above that of the undersheriffs. Clark County did something similar last year via ballot measure. That's how they set their sheriff's salary by their charter. And by a 63% vote, they voted to place the sheriff's salary 8% above their undersheriff vote. The reason I'm asking for you guys to consider this model, I don't know that law enforcement salaries are going to continue to outpace or increase at a rate higher than everybody else's, but setting it at whatever the undersheriff salary is at will prevent compression and prevent the what seems to happen every 7 or 8 years where police salaries are outpacing that of the executive. Talking with Ashley Cloud, I worked with Ashley Cloud quite a bit on this. She has some data points. Yes, it would take me to the top end of our comparables, particularly when you take the 10% east side reduction in salaries. It would still, with this move to 5.6% above the undersheriff salary, it would put me probably 5 to 6% below what the chief of the city of Spokane is currently, that position was advertised at last year. And it will still put me behind places like Clark County and everything like that, but it certainly would put me at the top of comparables given the 10% discount that we typically take here in Spokane. It would put me pay-wise on par with Larry. Some things I will tell you with the prosecuting attorney's office is, the prosecuting attorney is always required to maintain a certification, is supposed to maintain a bar license. Similar to that, I am also required to maintain a professional peace officer certification, unlike most other elected officials. I have to be able to conduct the business that every line level deputy has to conduct. I have to maintain my certification. I have to maintain my training, just like every other certified peace officer in the state of Washington. Do you guys have any questions for me about that? I will say it's not an insignificant increase, but as all of you are aware, and I have sent you each individual emails and had individual phone conversations, I do have one of my undersheriffs retiring this year, and it is my intent to not appoint somebody to replace that position. I will return that position to a deputy rank position, and the difference in salary between the inspector position and the deputy position over the next 3 years of the contract will show an overall savings of about $65,000 to the county itself. Keep in mind that is the offset because the county pays 100% of the sheriff's salary, 100% of the downtown patrol undersheriff. The county pays 58% of the administrative undersheriff, and then does not pay any of the chief of the Spokane Valley and inspector of the Spokane Valley. The city of Spokane Valley covers the other portions of Undersheriff Ritchie's position, and then covers 50% of the investigative undersheriff's position. So the $65,000 in savings is to the county solely. So, and again, my commitment to you all was that I will not replace that without the express consent of the Board of County Commissioners.
So, so how did you get to 5.6% versus a 5% or 4%?
Well, it's actually, I think what it was typically is it's a 5.14% is what the county standard was, but I know that in the past, and when I was looking at Ashley's numbers, she had it at 5.6%, and I think that's because there was a $5,000 education incentive built into that, that I actually haven't been taking the last couple of years, frankly.
Okay, because I think I remember the last time when the Sheriff Knutsovich came to us. I mean, there was a certain amount of, you know, I think we didn't agree to the education one.
Right, and I have not been receiving it, but it was loaded into the numbers that Ashley
Okay,
gave in the
because I think
spreadsheet.
we'd want to probably take that out.
Fine with me.
I mean, so just things like that. Just, I mean, because you are choosing to be an elected official and you're choosing to do your community service, but you know, as you know, we all don't get paid as the highest ranking officials in the county either. But I definitely think that we need to get you. I mean, we want to have a good quality sheriff in the future and current, which we know we do have. So we want to keep you. We want you to, you know, choose to stay in the position. So I'm, you know, so I guess, you know, just maybe have us look at that and tweak that. I know, you know, we want to make sure your uniform allowance and all those things are in there.
Right, and the uniform allowance is currently loaded in. Like I said, the typical rank structure, as far as pay increases, I think is 5.14%. Is that typically the county's policy? I think Ashley would have to correct me, but I think that's it.
Yeah. So, and I think
Since
that-
we're talking about her.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why we didn't worry about the education piece, because at the time, you know, for the most part, when you become sheriff, you're doing your normal education trainings that you have to do, just like I do as a CPA or attorneys do. But it's not that you're not getting additional college or, you know, upper level education, because you're actually very busy as a sheriff.
Right.
So, and a lot of times that training has already occurred prior to becoming sheriff. So that's why I think when Ozzy was talking about this, I wasn't as concerned about it. And especially as we go into budget constraints in the future, you know, as we know.
Right.
You know,
And
just
again,
trying to think through all that.
yeah, and I wouldn't be standing here if I didn't have a way to make it budget neutral. I mean, knowing and understanding what the challenges are coming into the future.
Yeah.
So what had previously been approved for this group was an annual education incentive based on the level of degree that was held by undersheriffs, inspectors, and the sheriffs. So each year they would receive a set amount based on what level degree they held. So that was approved several years ago. And John, if he hasn't been taking it, that's been his own decision to do that, but that is what was approved. I did build that into the numbers. So if we were to look at what a grade would be above the undersheriff, that's where the 5.14 comes in. So a grade above would equal that 5.14 step. So that's where that number derives from. If you wanted to go the grade, then I could back out that education and just move to a 5.14 above, which would pull the number down a little bit from the agenda sheet that you guys have right now.
Yeah, and I think, you know, since again, he's an elected official, or whoever's sheriff is an elected official, we don't have to worry about grades. I think we can just come up with what is a percentage, just like when you saw with the salary commission. It's not looking at that with electeds. It's looking at, here's a percentage we're, you know, willing to move. And so, I mean, I think of 5% above, you know, to keep that compression is something I'd be, you know, happy to look at. So, Commissioner Kearns?
I'll just be upfront. My concern is basing this off of something that essentially starts at bargaining at your deputies level, right? I mean, because based on what the deputies get, then that impacts who's above them, the sergeants, the lieutenants, your undersheriffs, all the way up to you. I mean, that's sort of my concern, is that this is all pegged to union negotiations that would then dictate what the elected official gets at the top. What is there any? I mean, you're currently at 90% of the prosecutor. What if it was just 95% of the prosecutor? I mean, and I mean what how I like where it's at now is you're based off of something that's been determined by a salary review commission. That's then basing it off of what other elected officials around the state, you know, I mean, yes, it's, they're looking at Superior Court judges. You know, the prosecutor makes the same as a Superior Court judge, and then the sheriff makes a percentage of that. I mean, whether it's 90, whether it's 95, whether we just put you also at what a Superior Court judge makes. That way, it's irrelevant what the bargaining units determine to then dictate what the sheriff makes. I mean, that's just, I mean, because, I mean, if we go to binding arbitration, I mean, if there's a huge, you know, payout that comes based on something like that, I mean, then that could really bump, you know, or you or whoever is the sheriff at the time. I mean, we could be talking 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road. I mean, you just never know where those negotiations go. And I mean, and that's quite a ripple effect from a deputy all the way up to the sheriff. And so that's kind of where my concern is.
Well, and I think you actually articulated what has happened in the last 7 years. I mean, I think that's uniquely what happened here because of the scarcity of people looking to get into law enforcement, the absolute raw demand for people to come into this profession, right? And that's one thing that is somewhat unique to you know, the sheriff's position. Number one, the State Salary Review Commission doesn't set anything for sheriffs. I mean, it was the Board of County Commissioners who set it to the prosecuting attorney's one. So I don't know that the state sets the salary for, or the State Salary Review Commission sets it for any commissioned law enforcement officer.
No, they
It's all-
don't. They set it for Superior Court, and then we have pegged the prosecutor to Superior Court.
Right.
And then we have pegged the sheriff to the prosecutor. So,
Right.
I mean, in turn, we've pegged the sheriff to the Superior Court because they're equal.
Yeah.
The sheriff and the prosecutor.
Well, and in,
I'm sorry,
and in
the
this,
Superior Court and the prosecutor are equal, and so we pegged you to that number. And so I'm just, do we just want to shrink, you know, it's at 90%, we move it to 95, 98, you know, so just make it on par.
well, I think with this, I mean, with a different mechanism, right? This being 5.14%, it would put me just shy of the prosecuting attorney salary for right now. I don't know that law enforcement salaries will outpace that of prosecutor or other elected official salaries going into the future. You know, like I said, my thought on pegging it to what the commissioned law enforcement people who report to me would be, avoid having to do this 4 years into the future. I mean, you also get the benefit if police salaries, you know, slow down compared to everybody else's, well, then the sheriff's salary would slow down as well. I think you avoid having to do this over time where you have people who are reporting to me who are also certified peace officers. Now their wages outpace me outpace the sheriff every 6 or 7 years, and that's been something that's been happening for the last 25 years. The Board of County Commissioners has to kind of keep re-looking at how they come up with that salary because the people who are reporting to the sheriff, they keep outrunning the salary. So.
What was the thought process behind the 90% peg versus 100 or some other number at the time? And then I'm just curious as well, I appreciate the Clark example. Curious kind of what is the norm out there for other counties? Is it just all over the map? So 2 separate questions.
As far as how is it set, Ashley
Yeah.
may be able to answer that. I know that it is not typical that the subordinates to the sheriff are earning more than the sheriff.
Right.
Yeah, so when I did a review of the other counties, the subordinates are not over the level of the sheriff. There are some that are somewhat close, but there's a hierarchy that you can see pretty clearly within law enforcement. How they're determined, it just kind of goes county by county, but they are set by the board, so however they determine. As far as why it was set at 90%, maybe Commissioner French can recall, or Kearns. I was not here for that.
Yeah, what I recall at the time, I think the compression issue with the sheriff at the time was Under Sheriff Tower was the one that was right, getting close to him. And I think the sheriff came in and said, 90% of what Larry's at would have, at the time, would have created some distance between the two. I mean, I think it was a round number that, you know, increased the sheriff's pay just enough to keep whatever that, I don't know if it was 5.1% above Under Sheriff Tower or 5 points. I couldn't tell you what that spread was, but at the time, I think it was enough of a distance that the sheriff at the time thought it was a good place to be.
Yeah. I remember the last time it was shifted, I as a lieutenant was making more than the sheriff was at the time. And so I think whatever that number was, it got to the point where it put the then sheriff, I don't know how far above everybody else, but it took roughly about 3 years for everybody to outpace him again.
And then just for general awareness, from kind of the county perspective and where you guys have set salaries for some of these roles, because it might be helpful as you're thinking about where you want to set sheriff. So the prosecutor obviously comes in at 100%. You guys have set sheriff at 90%. You've set Colin Charbonneau at 95% right now. So he's a public defender. Counsel for defense, you have at 85%. And then all of your chief criminal attorneys, prosecuting attorney, chief family law deputy, prosecuting attorney, they're all at 85% as well. So basically you have your 85%, then John at 90, then Colin at 95, then your judges at 100. So just for an idea of what your current hierarchy looks like with what you've said.
Yeah, and I don't know if we've mentioned this or not, but as things stand right now with where the current prosecutor's salary is set, I would be, I think for the next 3 months, right on par, and then I think on July 1st, slightly behind where the prosecuting attorney would be at. So.
Does anybody recall, and I don't remember, when we pegged the sheriff off the prosecutor, prior to that, did the sheriff go through the salary review commission? What's that?
Not that I've found. But
See, I thought maybe it was, but maybe not.
It was a mix. As I remember, it was a mix. Initially, it was salary review commission, and then the board decided that they had to take it out of that. And I think it was Knezevich that actually, it was Knezevich and might have been Haskell that recommended we take it out of the salary review commission because the Haskell set at the state level, and so they wanted to try and peg it more to that because he's, as a sheriff, there's a senior law enforcement officer in the county, so they wanted some relationship to the prosecutor. But I think this will be the third or fourth time we've changed how we've compensated the sheriff because we're trying to still find the sweet spot.
Well, and I think the persistent problem continues to be that the people doing the work, they just keep outpacing, and you know, for the last couple of years, it's been about, actually with the raises that the state gave last year, I was about even with my undersheriffs, but with these new contracts and agreements, it's, you know, it's over $20,000 difference.
So, and I know there was a time, and even with this change, I think the conditions still exist, that you will have reportees that if they take overtime will still be making more than you.
Yeah, that's not part of my calculus, because
Yeah.
remember, the
Yeah.
undersheriffs and the inspectors, they do not receive overtime. They are salaried positions.
Yeah, I just wanted to share
Yeah,
that
and
with
that's been
the
going
new
on for a
commissioners.
long
That,
time.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean, even though we're, from a pay scale standpoint, you're gonna be at the top, that doesn't mean that you're the one that's gonna be making the most money.
Not even
Because
close.
there's still deputies and sheriffs, sergeant, lieutenants that are still gonna be making more than you.
Correct.
Yeah.
Commissioner Waldron.
So I definitely support an adjustment because we need to do that. I appreciate you finding money in the budget by eliminating a position to make that happen. So we're not finding money elsewhere. So thank you for making that, for suggesting that in your budget. I guess I have a similar, it sounds like there's a lot of different ways we could go about pegging the salary. So did you look at like the 95% or another alternative? Just wondering if there was a different way to, if this was the best way that you came up with, or if Ashley had looked at the 95% of the prosecutor or alternatives, just to be able to have something that is, I guess, a little bit more set to other electeds. So anyway, just,
So
there
I
seems
guess-
like there's a lot of ways we could do it. I don't have a particular, just wondering if we've explored each of the options and whether or not it would work.
I did. And so if we were to go to like a 98%, we'd essentially get back into alignment of, for this year, of what John would be asking for right now. That said, my concern goes back to what John's talking about, is if we do want to keep the hierarchy of the sheriff's office, we are at the whim of the commission of the state, who is not looking at this position at all. So they're completely looking at the judges. So some years, like 2 years ago, they got a 7%. This year was a 4%. Next year is a 3%. So it may or may not, if we set it on a percentage, keep up with the percentage that the undersheriffs are receiving based on their salaries. So you could definitely do that this year, but for future years, I would then recommend we do a review to make sure that we're still on target with what that commission recommended, if it still aligns with what you as a commission decide you'd like to see as the difference between. Yeah, you could kind of go either way, but it would require us to continue to look at it year over year if you map it to the judge's salary.
And the judges, they're really looking at the work of a judge.
Correct.
And then everything is cascading down.
Yep, the
from
work
that.
of a judge and the job requirements of a judge, right? So
Right.
similar to what we're doing for your
Which is-
positions and the others with the commission when we meet with the local commission, they're doing that on the state side for the judges.
So it's not necessarily, it's apples to apples. Okay.
Well, and in my conversation with Prosecutor Haskell the other day, he said he was 100% in support of, you know, me being paid at least on par with him. He had no issue. He goes, like, John, I don't even care if they pay you more. He goes, you have twice the staff I do and quite a bit bigger budget. He thinks that I have more liability. I disagreed with him. I had an argument with him about that. But I mean, if you want to look at, you know, pay for work and things like that, I mean, I have almost twice the staff that the prosecutor does. So some other things for you guys to consider. And I think much to Ms. Cloud's point is that when the state is setting that, they are not considering the law enforcement specific responsibilities. It's just not something that they're doing.
I would say you do carry a gun, so you may have a little bit more liability.
Well, and I have 275 employees carrying guns,
Yes.
and about
Commissioner-
another 75 who don't, so.
Commissioner French.
So, I think this is like the fourth time, maybe, that we've had a conversation about the sheriff's salary. And the one thing that I'm struck by, just thinking about this and thinking about after our conversation, is that every one of those previous adjustments was a result of compression. And here we are again dealing with compression. I appreciate Commissioner Kearns' wanting to separate the salary from union contract negotiations, because we don't want you to be, I mean, there's an inherent conflict with that relationship that is difficult to overcome. But again, the fourth time that we're dealing with compression and stuff. So maybe there is some logic to, you know, making a relationship there so that we don't have to deal with the compression issue in the future. I do understand the hierarchy and the necessity to maintain that relationship and stuff. So while I agree with Commissioner Kearns, I'd like to be able to find a different thing to benchmark against. I don't know what it is. And so this, you know, we could either continue to do this every 4 to 5 years or just address the compression by eliminating it. So, anyway, just some thoughts.
Yeah, well, and, every question that's been asked, absolutely valid questions, and the reality of it is, what do you benchmark it to? Well, you all get to do that. You guys get to decide that. And so I agree with you, Commissioner French, that, listen, if you don't want sheriffs keep coming back to you every 5 or 7 years, the easiest way to alleviate that would just put a set step between the undersheriffs and the sheriff. Like I said, I don't know whether or how many years it would be before police salaries start outpacing everybody else's again, and maybe they don't. Maybe some policies change in the state, and maybe, society changes to the point where we, have a lot of people wanting to get into the law enforcement profession. Maybe that occurs and things moderate, but maybe they don't. But in addition, at the end of the day, I just don't see, if you tie it to the undersheriff salary, I don't know that you're going to have to take a bite at this apple. I mean, but again, you guys have the ultimate authority. If a couple of years from now, 5 years now, you say, we just can't afford to pay that anymore, you can go back and change it.
Well, I was just add to my comments that every time we do this, it's never set in stone, because we always learn and adjust and come back. And, if we try this and it doesn't work, then we always have the ability to come back, like you say, and adjust to something else. So we've tried other methods.
And I will say, by tying it to the undersheriff's salary, it would make professionally qualified people more likely to apply. I mean, when I applied and took this job, I knew that I would be taking a pay cut. And thankfully, it was only for about a year and a half before I caught back up to where I was prior to being elected as the sheriff. But by going the route that I suggested, I think you're going to, in the future, whenever I decide I don't want to be the elected sheriff anymore, I think you're going to get better, more professionally qualified candidates to throw their name in the ring for that.
Commissioner Jordan.
Just a question, thinking about the different options that we might take. Good discussion all around. And I understand the limitations of the state commission. Just curious, looking back like the past 5 years of that change, what's been the percentage change for judges and prosecutors? Has it been a pretty consistent 3%-ish, or has it varied? I'm just curious because I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's see, what year am I starting? So in 2020, it was a 4.55%, 2021, 0%, 2022, 1.75%, 2023, 7%, 2024, 5%, 2025 is 4.03%, and 2026 is a 3.02%. So it's kind of across the board, to be honest.
Interesting. Thank you.
So I wonder if because I hear all sides of what we're trying to do here, and I get it. Is there a way that, and Ashley, having just had the salary commission get together, is there a way for us to make that bump to like a 5% now, where you're 5% above, and then have the salary commission review it every 2 years to then continue, because then they can look at that compression and see what's happening? Or do we, look at, because I know that doesn't take into account, if we do that and they don't meet for 2 years, the fact that the sheriffs, will be getting a raise they have, set. So I mean, I don't know, how could we transition to that, to have that happen and set John up right now? And then do we feel that that's a good way to do it versus a different way?
You could. If we do it that way, I would recommend that we set this year and next year based on the undersheriff, so that you have 2 consecutive years where the sheriff doesn't get behind. And then we could give it to the salary commission at that point. The one difficult thing, again, just depends on the contract cycle that we're in, and if that commission agrees that the sheriff should make a continued amount more than their undersheriffs, or if they feel that they shouldn't. And that could be a complete philosophical change. Ultimately, you as the board would then have the authority to take their recommendation or decline their recommendation and do something differently, but you could at least have a separate set of eyes looking at it if you wanted to. Some years I have commissions that really understand comp, like I had a really good group this year, honestly. Some years I have people that I honestly don't know if they're even reading what I have on the screen, because it just completely depends on the voter roll that gets picked. So we absolutely could move in that direction. Do I still have concerns that we would fall behind the undersheriffs? I do from that route, but again, you guys could at least put in there that you would like to review it, and if you decide to decline it, that you would make that decision at that time.
Question.
Just a second, Commissioner French and then Commissioner Jordan.
Well, I share this just from a historical perspective. We did have, when we established the Salary Review Commission, a conversation about the sheriff being part of the Salary Review Commission, and we actually voted against that at the very aggressive request of the sheriff, because he felt that, you know, the state set the salary for prosecuting attorney, that he was the highest law enforcement official, and that should be linked to law enforcement as opposed to the whims of a salary review commission that could or could not understand the duties and responsibilities of the sheriff and stuff. So that's one of the reasons why we took the sheriff out of the salary review commission and then pegged it to the prosecuting attorney. Not campaigning one way or the other, and just giving you some history.
Commissioner Jordan.
Good, I appreciate that history. Just playing the thought out a little bit, could the board do what Commissioner Cuny described for 2 years and then give it to the Salary Review Commission, but say that the only criteria is it must be above the highest paid undersheriff, otherwise recommend a number for us? Is that something we have the authority to do, of say, you get to give us a number, but it has to meet this criteria?
Yeah, because ultimately you set the salary, so you could give them that as one of their rules when they are setting the salary, that it would need to be above. So yes, we could move in that. So you could do an equal to or a greater than, if that's the direction you wanted to go.
The other thing I would ask the board to consider is the current contracts are 3 years, so maybe instead of 2, maybe you go 3. And then as the new contracts are negotiated, then it could be in front of the salary review board then. Just a consideration. Otherwise, you're looking at the last year of the contract potentially running into a compression issue again. But again,
Right.
it probably won't matter one way or the other.
Well, or we could set it for the next 4 years that it's going to be a certain percentage above, you know, for the next 4 years, because of just getting on the cycle of the salary review commission is every 2 years. So it'd be an off year, and we wouldn't want to do a salary review commission in the off year. But I just wonder if that helps get us where it's not pegged off the negotiations. And that's where, with the salary review commission, the sheriff gets to go and explain his duties and responsibilities, which, you know, I think at some point you're going to be higher than the prosecuting attorney, you know, potentially. So, you know, so I hate to peg it to the prosecuting attorney at 100%, when, you know, depending on what happens in law enforcement, it could be different than that. So maybe, or the other thing is it just comes before the commissioners every 2 years when the salary commission meets, that we set your salary.
Do you know what the state's giving in 2026? Have they stated that yet? Okay. I was just asking Ashley if she knew what the state had set the increases in 2026 were yet, and she was not aware. What is it for next year? 3. So 3%, which is actually very close to being right on pace with what the contracts for the sheriff's office will be next year. So it should be in line.
So, I mean, that's where I guess I would say that we just want to make sure that you're, you know, again, just, I'm going to use round numbers and say 5%, that, you know, for now, for the next 4 years, we're going to ensure that the sheriff of Spokane County is at 5% above the next pay level.
Right, undersheriff.
Of undersheriff. And then at the end of that 4 years, we either say, every 2 years, the commissioners are going to look at it, or we're going to send it to the salary commission to look at it. And that way it just gets that, renewal, but it gets it off even though it's still basically based on what's negotiated, because, we have to look at that as to what the negotiations occur, but it's not,
Always
directly tied to that.
Yeah, so if we went that model, then we would be bringing it to the salary commission at the end of 2028 for implementation of whenever, January, February, depending on when they finish, of 2029. So we could definitely go in that direction. I can make notes, so if I win the lotto or get hit by a bus, whoever comes in behind me would have that information. But that way, if we did that, we could definitely memorialize that that's the direction you guys would like to go at that point in time.
Right, because, we don't know what that increase will be for 2027, because you're out of contract at that point. So I think if we just say that it's a 5% above whatever the contract is at this point in time, and then, up for that renewal. I know, that's the best compromise I have at this point in time.
It's essentially, I think, the reason I'm here asking is I think that will prevent me from coming in saying, hey, the people reporting to me are making substantially more money than I am.
Yeah, and I think it takes it, especially if the salary review commission really looks at it, then it ties it to an independent body, that, again, just like we have to justify our job, you're justifying yours. And I think having that kind of clause in there that we do want to make sure that it's not, we don't end up with compression, that we do want to have it be higher than the undersheriffs.
Yep.
Because, you are the chief law enforcement officer for the county. And what I don't want to do is if we see the state get into a budget crisis, and if hearing that 1 year was zero, I don't want to see, because we know our contracts are not at zero.
Right. Well, and I think that's why you
end up
saw
down.
the 7% the year following and 5% the year after that. I think that was specifically when the governor said we needed to catch up for that 0 year.
So, Commissioner Kearns.
If, just kind of to close things out, so with everything you've talked about, the adjusting of the undersheriff, the command staff, your pay, so all these concepts, does it all fit within your 2025 budget?
Not only 2025, but it fits 2026 and 2027 to a net savings to the county of $65,000.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Just a housekeeping item. So with the proposed non-funding of the undersheriff position that the sheriff is suggesting, I'm sure Jeff is thinking the same thing. I'd like to make sure we have an understanding. We're trying to clean up our payroll system and our budget process. We're trying to eliminate unfunded positions that we've historically left in the budget. So I'd like to see this come out of the budget. And if the sheriff comes and requests in the future, then he comes in and requests for the future for the undersheriff.
I need to clarify, though, real quick. It's not unfunding a position. It's returning the inspector position number to a deputy position. And then the difference in salary between the one position and the other over 3 years will be $65,000 in savings to the county.
Got it. So adding a deputy position, eliminating the inspector position.
Yes,
Yeah.
changing the position number that is currently occupied by Inspector Lundgren back to a downtown patrol deputy position, entry level, which will probably be vacant for a little bit until we can hire somebody. But yeah, and then it will stay as a deputy position.
Okay, yep, I just want to make sure that for our budget purposes, we're being really clean on that. We're not having positions in the budget that are unfunded. Because it just creates confusion trying to track this stuff.
Correct.
Okay. Commissioner Jordan.
Thank you as well for bringing forward an idea, a pay-for idea. So we're talking about really a budget-neutral concept, which I appreciate, and just noting the norm across the state is that the sheriff is not making less than the people that they supervise. So we're trying to kind of come into what is the statewide norm, and appreciate your service.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or thoughts? So are we, I'm going to just summarize that we're thinking 5% above what the undersheriffs are making for the next 4 years, and then have it go to the salary commission in 2027, or 2028, of which the salary commission, we would also add the caveat that we want to ensure that the sheriff is making more than the undersheriffs.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Which, that will now take us to Undersheriff Kevin Ritchie. Do you want to discuss pay, or are you okay?
Oh, the best part of me is, you know, it's going to be fast, and I'm not asking for any money, so.
There we go, good.
All right, the first thing I have is the mental health field response team, RFP. We, just for a little bit of history, we've had a subcontract with Frontier Behavioral Health for the last, well, since 2019 for our mental health field response team. One of the findings in our grant, for the WASPIC grant, was that we didn't have a competitive process. So we went out and conducted a competitive process for the subcontract for the next 2-year grant cycle. No one's been selected yet, but this is just a request to allow us to move into negotiations with the applicants. So they've done the process, they've done the vetting and everything, and now we just need to enter into negotiations for a subcontract. So that's all this is. And it's pending the award from WASPIC, which we won't know until June 1st. They're waiting for the state legislature to finalize the budget and everything, and then once we get the award or not award, then we'll know what dollars we have to spend. So.
Okay. Any questions?
All right. The next is an MOU with the city of Spokane Valley. This is they've agreed to place about 26 license plate readers in Spokane Valley. The county, the sheriff's office will operate and maintain those through the real-time crime center, and they will reimburse us over the next, I think it's 5 years, for $468,291, and that aligns with our current FLOC contract. So that would be the remainder of that contract. Good. All right. The next one is an MOU with the Seattle Police Department. If you remember, a few weeks ago, I brought our new canine in, Hattie. She does electronic detection. This is for the Seattle Police Department is the hub for the International Crimes Against Children. And so they provide training, transportation, that kind of stuff for the canine, and this is a reimbursement from them not to exceed $7,500. And it's for travel and training, and if the dog's used in other jurisdictions for ICAT cases. So. That's it.
Whoops, Commissioner French.
So is the dog aware that it's got to go to Seattle?
I don't know, but maybe it doesn't have to. Maybe none of the cases are over there. So.
Maybe it could do bark in the park night.
There you go.
There we go.
Don't tempt the handler.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, then we have Chief Dave Ellis.
Good morning, Dave Ellis, Undersheriff Spokane County and Chief of Police for Spokane Valley. Come before you with two amendments, or I'm sorry, two agreements for your consideration. These agreements are with Bell's CAP program and also Saffron. What these, as you're aware, these reflect on the new 505 helicopter. Basically on all the aircraft, they have time limited components. As we know, those come due, and they come through at different times and that kind of stuff. What that does to our budget is it does not allow us to be able to accurately predict every year. It changes, it fluctuates. So you have big years, we have light years, and that kind of stuff. What these agreements will do is that will flatten out these costs. It's basically considered in the industry a power by the hour program used by many other agencies. It flattens out our costs, predicts it for budgeting purposes, and allows it so that when we do have a major expense, like maybe an engine that comes due or something like that, we're not having to come back before you and ask for $500,000 for a new engine. It flattens those costs out. So the CAP program, that covers all the airframe. The Saffron agreement covers the engine itself. So we come before you for your consideration on that. this is something that has been reviewed by legal and by risk management, and it is absorbed by our current existing budget. And I'll take any questions.
Okay, and then you have a plan for this in the budget?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, Scott?
I just want to add, for Chief Ellis and I talked last week, and I believe the helicopter is due to traverse across the county in mid-May and arrive here.
Yes.
So, and we had, he had asked if it would be good to do a media event for it, or like a ribbon cutting ceremony. So he and Pat are connecting on that, and I don't think it has to be the day it lands, but certainly early on, I think it would be great to show the new equipment that the county has and the sheriff has for providing services. So just an FYI, you'll see something on your calendars that makes sense for everyone.
Yeah, we are scheduled to go down and test fly it on May 13th. It'll take a couple days, and then we'll fly back. We anticipate it, weather permitting, arriving in Spokane around May 18th.
I think that's very exciting.
It is.
Long time in the making.
Absolutely.
Commissioner Waldron?
That is exciting. It seems like it was one of the first things we discussed when I was a new commissioner. So my question, kind of following up on that, is how have the conversations evolved around the use agreements with the other either counties that may need to use the helicopter, or the city of Spokane, or some of the other outlying cities? I know that there was some initial conversations about making sure that this is a great resource for our, Eastern Washington and Spokane County, and how are those conversations evolved around making sure that the county is compensated by other agencies for the use of the helicopter?
Sure. So, some of the agencies, their costs are covered by our joint use agreements, like City of Spokane, Valley, Deer Park, Millwood, Airway Heights are tied into that. Where probably the biggest gap is with the City of Spokane right now, and I see the sheriff inching up here. So, if you have more information about it, go ahead.
Well, I don't have any more information about how we close that gap with the city of Spokane. I mean, everybody is dealing with budget issues. I will say one of the 3 top priorities for WASPC this year was getting the 4 sheriff's office regional air support units funded from the state. Passed out of the House unanimously, got into the Senate, moved from one committee into the next, and because of politics, that bill died in one of the Senate committees because the chair of the committee was mad that one of the people who sponsored our bill didn't sponsor one of the chair's bills, and so it was just summarily pulled off the agenda. Now, I'm talking with people who have influence with some of our state legislators. No bill is ever dead until it's dead, and if you guys have the ability to get that resurrected as a budget issue, I know all the sheriff's offices, to include King County, Snohomish County, Spokane County, and Chelan County, would certainly appreciate getting the additional funding back into our budgets. So just consider who you might be able to call that has some influence in the Senate, and see if we can get that back in.
Any other questions for Chief Ellis? So I guess one question, so looking at these two, sort of both the helicopters included in the $500,000 over 5 years?
This is just for the Bell 505, and that 500,000 is high. It's based on how many hours you operate. And
Okay,
so,
but it's over 5 years.
Correct. Yep.
So it's not 500,000 a year, it's just over the 5
I
years.
estimate it'll probably be about 125 per year.
Okay. And then on the other one,
And that's combined for both contracts.
okay, that's combined for both. Okay, perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's going to take us to Doug Chase. You have a group with you.
Yes, good morning. I will hand it off very quickly. We have a services contract and a capital
contract construction that we want to brief on to award. So with that, I'll turn it over to Rachel. Very good.
Hello. Thank you for your time today and allowing us this opportunity to present. We are here to recommend awarding our RFP project P14215, the Aquatics Concession Services Operator Contract. We're requesting your support in awarding the responsible bidder identified as the Spokane Indians baseball team. Next slide. A little bit of background on this. In 2021, Spokane County Parks, Recreation, and Golf went out to bid for a concession service operator to operate our concessions at the north side and south side facilities. And previously, our concessions were operated by our county part-time employees each season. But this contract that we established in 2021 served us very well in resulting in a net increase in revenue at Spokane County while allowing aquatic staff to focus more on water safety and programming. The initial agreement has now reached the end of its term, and based on previous success over the last 4 years, we went out to bid in March of 2025 to solicit bids. We received one bid from the Spokane Indians baseball team. After careful evaluation, the review team found the bidder to be very responsive and recommend awarding this contract P14215 to the Spokane Indians baseball team to serve as our concessions operator. Next slide. Southside revenue and expense trends. I just wanted to show a little bit of this at the aquatics facilities. This is the Southside location. The last 4 years show the success that the Indians had. They were our previous contract the last 4 years, and so you can see some of the success that they've had and brought to us since they began in 2021. Next slide. And this is Northside. Prior to 2021, Northside had low patron attendance, which contributed to the concession revenue losses that are seen here in previous years. But in 2021, we opened a renovated facility with pool expansion and a new open swim structure. The Northside location has really benefited in patronage from these improvements, along with having an experienced concession service contract in place the last 4 years. And the Indians have proven that their menu, their products, their staffing levels are all dialed in at both of our locations with some positives there. All right, well, thank you for your time and consideration for this award to the Spokane Indians.
Are there any questions? I think it's just exciting to see where it was costing us money, and now it's, we're letting people know who can do it better and give us a little bit of income instead of a loss on it. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, next.
All right, good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I'm here to seek your support in proceeding with contracting for the improvements at our north side and south side aquatics facilities, as funds were allocated through REIT 2 in the 2025 budget. Excuse me. Next slide. I'll do a short overview of the projects. The scope includes 2 locations. The first I'll review is our Prairie View Park, our south side aquatic facility, which is off of 61st Avenue, and the aquatics facility is located at the northwest corner of the park. The pool is a popular summer location with heavy bather loads throughout the aquatic season. Next slide. The pool received upgrades last year in the form of a new aquatic structure in the zero depth entry area. This improvement would be to replaster the area you see in yellow, which is the lazy river and the deep tank. The pool plaster is currently experiencing cracking and delamination from several of the pool walls. Next slide. Just a couple images of the current conditions. Next slide. Also experiencing some chipping and popping off of the existing tile and coping around the pool. Next slide. Our second location is at our Bidwell Park. This is our Northside Aquatics facility. Next slide. The scope in base bid is the area in yellow, so this would be to replaster the deep tank area off of the slides, and then an alternate option for replastering the zero depth entry that is also experiencing some cracking. Next slide. A couple photos of the existing conditions. Next slide. And one more. Okay, scope of work. So 2 base bid items, replastering, like I mentioned, the Southside Aquatics facility throughout the Lazy River and the deep tank, and then replastering the deep tank area at the Northside facility. And then we had 3 alternates as part of the RFP as well, replastering the zero depth entry at the north side, at south side, replacing wall tile in throughout the pool and at the water line. And then alternate 3 was replacing the coping around the pool as well. Next slide. We received 1 favorable bid. Engineer's estimate was at $500,000, and the base bid from the contractor we received bids from came in at $470,000 and change. And we had favorable recommendations from some of their references as well. Next slide. Project funding, $740,000 was allocated from REIT 2 through the 2025 budget. And if we consider some of the other project costs, contingencies, our staff costs to manage the project, we are still within the budget allocated. Next slide. So we're here to request your support in moving forward with contracting Crisco Aquatech to do this scope of work, and ask that you would authorize through the next legislative agenda Doug or Scott to enter into a contract with the contractor.
One question, are they a local company?
They are not. They're out of Woodinville, Washington.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Commissioner Kearns.
I, by no means an expert when it comes to pools. I noticed you have the tile replacements. Do we have to have tile as that transition from when it goes from sort of the concrete or pool liner to concrete? Or, I mean, tiles chip, tiles fall off, the mortar comes off. I mean, can you do away with the tile? Would that be cheaper long-term to have some other type of transition on those edges than tile?
Yeah, I think that it is a requirement at the water line to have a color transition between the plaster, but I will verify that. And then I think in lap pools, the deep tank at the north side to help signify lanes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Nope. Thank you very much. Excited
Thank you.
to have the project move forward. Oops, sorry. That then will take us to Mr. Chesney.
Good morning, Commissioners. We're coming back for a second briefing on the project management services for the Comprehensive Plan 2026 update. We did talk to you a little bit before, and this contract process has worked its way through the Grants Office and through the Budget Office. It will be before you on your legislative agenda next week. These are services for project management of all of our consultants as well as our planning, to have a sole point of contact to manage the dozens of various tasks and things that are going on. This is funded from Commerce Grant Fund, so there's no net cost to the county. and it's something that we think is a very valuable add-on to keep the effectiveness and efficiency of these teams going when we are under, as you know, very demanding deadlines.
Any question, or Scott Simmons?
Just a comment. One of the things Scott's doing is making sure we've got a number of funding sources from the state, as he mentioned. Some of those are already in hand as far as contracts go for reimbursement. Some of them are still contingent upon the budget that's up for the legislature right now for beyond mid-2025. So Scott's making sure that none of the contracts are over-subscribed to what our current funding levels are. So we're making sure all of the multiple consultant contracts that he has are in line with what the approved accepted awards are today. Should we get some further funding, then there will likely be some adjustments to the contracts going forward, but we just want to make sure we're not overcommitting the dollars that we currently have, not in hand, but currently on approved contracts.
Okay. Not seeing any other questions.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you. That's going to take us to Ben Bradabo, Matt Zerkar.
Thank you, Commissioners. Appreciate your time this morning. I think we have Kyle online too, and Ben's here if there's questions that come up. So if it pleases the board, I just wanted to run through our public hearing presentation that we'll have this afternoon, also answer any questions and maybe address a few concerns I've been hearing. So just quickly, you guys have seen this presentation before. Stormwater, obviously, you guys know what stormwater is, but just all the runoff, largely in our world associated with the roadway system. Next slide, please, Ron. And the stormwater background, the rates, and when we first established it back in the early 90s, you can see they started out $1.75 a month in 2007. We did increase them a little in 2024 in anticipation of this rate study that was ongoing at that time. Next slide. So what drove the need for the study? A couple of things. One, we were having a lot of challenges addressing stormwater needs in our rural area outside the stormwater service area, and just not keeping up with what we're trying to do regarding stormwater is really the two big driving factors in the discussion regarding rates and area of coverage. Next slide. So here's the current boundary and also the proposed boundary. You can see the current stormwater area in purple there on the left. It was the stormwater service area, the census area from a certain time period. And really it focused on the urban area, and now we're really wanting to address rural concerns. They've grown into a very large issue for us. I think a lot of you hear from folks in the rural areas quite frequently regarding that. And it'll just give us a lot better ability to address those concerns and keep our road system in better shape. One thing probably worth mentioning, this is coming through similar timing to the APA considerations. You'll note that the APA area largely coincides with the existing stormwater service area. So those folks already have a stormwater fee they pay. And the new fee is being applied to areas that are predominantly outside the APA. So they're not getting hit twice, I guess would be the thing I'd want to share with the board. Next slide. These were the rates we're proposing. We want to kind of step into them. It'll allow us to develop the program, allow people to adjust to the fees a little bit. And next slide. This is kind of where those fees fit into the larger picture. You can see on the red on the very left is our current fee. The green is what we're proposing. You can see a lot of our counterparts there in blue at the city of Spokane in the valley. No, you're fine. Thank you. And so we're fitting in well. A lot of these jurisdictions also have scheduled rate increases over the next few years, so our scheduled fee increases in keeping with what a lot of the jurisdictions are currently doing. Next slide. Here's what we can use it for, a lot of different things. We've currently been using it a lot in the stormwater service area for inventorying and cleaning out stormwater structures, which is really important, and also addressing the ponds and swales. This will allow us to expand that, though. We'll be able to deal with our short span bridges and our large diameter culverts that we don't currently have a program or funding for. But Probably the biggest thing is our road system. By ditching and getting the water away from the roads, we will be able to prevent a lot of the damage we've been seeing. This year was a poster child for that. Our current estimates are at $2 million, and the only way to address that, if we don't move forward with something like this, is to pull that out of preservation to do those repairs that have to be done this year that we've already been doing this year. So be a big impact on preservation if we weren't able to move forward with this. We would basically have to shift half our preservation money away just to doing repairs this year and forego a lot of the preservation work we had planned. And also the ditching and shouldering will just really help the road in general. You know, potholing on gravel roads, a lot of that is due to poor drainage. So it'll address gravel road concerns in addition to our paved road network. Next slide, please. And then what will the citizens get? You know, this is really important, where the rubber meets the road. What are they going to see for the dollars that we're asking them for? And this is a good example of it. You know, this year we had a lot of road damage from inadequate drainage facilities. Picture on the left is just one of many, many examples, and by far, in a way, not the most dramatic example. Picture on the right is what it ends up looking like after we've done the ditching. Next slide. And similarly, we'll be able to do more sweeping, keep the urban neighborhoods in better shape, keep the debris out of the stormwater system so we don't have to clean it out later and it doesn't plug up our system and fail our ponds and drainage facilities. And on the right, you can see the culverts too. They just need a lot of attention. As we said in an earlier slide, there's 29,000 of them. We have a huge culvert inventory. Currently, with our current boundary, we're only addressing a very small percentage of that. Next slide. And again, as we spoke of just a minute ago, roads in poor condition, in no small part due to the lack of drainage for the roadway. So it'll help us keep the roads in better condition. As we've discussed before, it offsets existing maintenance dollars that are spent on these activities and allows us to push that money into preservation and do more preservation work. And I think the board's well aware we've had a lot of revenue challenges in the road system, between property taxes not really growing to speak of, and also the gas tax being flat or declining due to the increase in fuel efficiency and also electric vehicles. So helps us address some of those concerns. It would be difficult to overstate the importance of this. Currently, it's about $3.5 million for fiscal year 2026, up to $6.5 million in 2029. That money would largely end up boosting our preservation program by offsetting those current maintenance activities. And really, I guess the other thing I'd share is, you know, we're very sensitive to not increasing full-time employees. We want to try and do this with the staff we currently have to the degree we possibly can. And the positions that do end up being hired or retained is the more likely scenario in our road maintenance group. Not only do they help us with the drainage work for periods of the year when we're doing that job, they're also here in the wintertime to help us perform better, give a better level of service for winter operations, and do better preservation work during that time period. Next slide. So that's just the summary. Again, our request to the board would be to consider expanding the service area to the entire county so we can address the rural concerns. As we've shown, the fees are well within what other jurisdictions are charging currently. And it's just a really large win for the road fund. It's just by offsetting those dollars, it's going to be a huge deal. This is a fairly pivotal point for us where a lot of the damage we're seeing now is delayed road work that happened 12 years ago when we went through the effects of the Valley Incorporation combined with the recession of 2008, combined with a lot of different factors. So we see this delayed preservation work catch up with us a number of years later, and we're just really hopeful that the board would support this effort because it will make a huge difference in the road system down the line. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner Kearns.
Now, on the one where you have the purple maps, the existing area and then the full unincorporated county, under the current map, can the dollars that are collected in the purple only be spent in the purple area?
Yeah, correct. I should have hit on that. The way our county code and the resolution that formed the stormwater utility were written, those dollars can only be spent in the purple area on the left. So
Okay.
very restrictive currently on how we spend those. If the board were agreeable to moving forward with that, even this year, we could use fund balance and stormwater utility to offset that existing damage that we're dealing with right now. So that would be a huge shot in the arm for this year's preservation work. Short of that, we're going to have to pull about half our preservation work out just to do the repairs that we're talking about.
Okay.
And we were fortunate, it was a light winter. There were some dollars there, but not enough to cover all the damage that we've been seeing.
And then on the rates, are those annual rates or?
Those are monthly rates, so you can multiply those by 12 for what they'll be seeing on an annual basis, 48 to 84.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Jordan.
And it's one fee, same fee.
Correct.
Regardless of where you are, basically under the theory that there's the same challenges exist throughout the county.
Yeah, before we had special drainage districts, high-risk districts, they were called, and there was a rationale at that time. We were doing more work, more capital projects in those areas, so they paid a higher rate, and we're not seeing that going forward. You know, the work we're doing is far more spread out over the entire county.
Okay, thank you. We'll see you this afternoon.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, then that's going to take us to miscellaneous matters. So, Kyle, I see you have one.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. And Ben Bradabo is here in attendance to support anything that you may have further questions on here. I wanted to update you. There was the interlocal agreement that we briefed you all on last week that is up for legislative approval today. That is how the funds collected from the aquifer protection area, should it pass on this future ballot measure, are distributed amongst the municipalities that choose to participate. And after our briefing session, I just wanted you to know that they had their council meeting that night, and they came back with a few other edits and comments on the interlocal agreement previously briefed. None of them substantial. In fact, I would say it's a better interlocal agreement because it reduced our reporting requirements from quarterly to biannually. So it's less administratively burdensome and really doesn't change anything with regards to the structure of the distribution or how our program is run. But I wanted to make sure you were all aware and see if you had any further questions on those. They have asked that we have this interlocal agreement in place before they make their formal determination next week to approve being included.
Sorry, was the city of Spokane Valley?
That is correct.
Okay, I missed that. Okay.
Yes, and if you saw the paper this morning, the city of Spokane voted last night unanimously to be included as well.
Okay. Commissioner French.
So, it's my understanding, and please correct me if I'm not stating this accurately, that funds that are collected within the jurisdictions would be used within the jurisdictions to address aquifer protection programs, that there's really no intent to shift dollars that are collected in one jurisdiction to another jurisdiction. Is that a fair statement?
I think that's a fair representation, Commissioner.
Does that statement also apply then to the unincorporated parts of the boundary? For instance, could funds in the Green Acres area on the eastern side of the aquifer be used to address issues in the West Plains?
You know, I'm going to actually defer. Ben, do you understand how that boundary is determined? with our precincts for the SVRP.
Thank you, Commissioners. Our intent, the way that we've used it now, is to use the money within the area that it's collected. And so in the unincorporated portions of Spokane County, we've used that money over the Spokane Valley Rathdrum Prairie Aquifer to do monitoring and education. It's not our intent to move it to a different part of the unincorporated portions of the county. That said, the Green Acres generates revenue, but so does North Spokane, and so it's all within that, within the APA area, we use that money. But go ahead if I'm not answering your question directly.
No, you've you have reinforced my understanding of how the funds have been used and would be used. And so, obviously, from my standpoint, I have the West Plains and folks in the West Plains Aquifer that are desirous of being part of this effort. And I think part of that energy is because there is an impression that funds that are collected in the valley can be used on the West Plains, and they see this as a lost opportunity. Is that an accurate statement?
If they were included, our intent would be to use it within all of the area that's included that's contributing to the Aquifer Protection Area fee. Is it a lost opportunity? If they're not included, we wouldn't be using the funds there, so it would be missed by them. But as we recommended to not include them, seeing their challenges are different than what we have for the Spokane Valley Rathdrum Prairie Aquifer, and have recommended to not move forward with West Plains.
So I've stated a number of times that I was supportive of the reauthorization, or putting the reauthorization of the APA in front of the voters with the inclusion of the West Plains, and that is not happening. They are not part of this. So what is being proposed to address the drainage issues for the West Plains and the aquifer protection issues for the West Plains?
Right. So, and Kyle, if you'd like to go ahead, Kyle, I know you are working on that. Go ahead.
Commissioner, per the direction of the Board of County Commissioners, staff is preparing an additional aquifer protection area that would specifically address the aquifer, or on the West Plains, or aquifers, and the issues that they are unique to that particular area. We have a meeting set up with the local municipalities here within a week to understand if they are interested in participating and how they would like to see that formed, and how those resources would be potentially utilized to focus solely on the issues of the West Plains. We've gotten very interested and enthusiastic responses from the jurisdictions up there, and working with Chad Pritchard to understand how some of the boundaries we would propose for that aquifer protection area on the West Plains should be structured, and understanding how that aligns with voting precincts, and are hoping to have a productive session with those jurisdictions here within a week.
So what, if you don't mind, Madam Chair, what would be your, and I'm not going to hold you to this, but what would be your anticipated timeline for the West Plains to have an APA opportunity on the ballot? Is it realistic to think that also might happen this fall?
It is realistic that it could happen in November if we are all united in our approach with the other jurisdictions. As you are familiar with the current SVRP, We have been kind of holding on our timeline until we understood when our partner jurisdictions preferred to go to the ballot. And those conversations we would anticipate would be similar for the West Plains. If the municipalities on the West Plains would like to go for November, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't. If they had a preference to go on a different ballot, I think we would all work collaboratively to find the best opportunity from a timing standpoint. With the current SVRP one, I wouldn't say even though the county is the one who puts it on the ballot, we really wanted to make sure the local jurisdictions were on board and in agreement with that timing, which is why the SVRP is going in August.
Okay.
Did I answer your question fully, Commissioner?
Yeah, no, I really appreciate the information and stuff. I've obviously been traveling for the last couple of weeks, and it's good to be able to get accurate and up-to-date information with regard to the status. Would not be surprised that this afternoon there are folks that are going to be here wanting to see an APA for the West Plains established and not only established but also included in the larger ballot initiative. I understand the logic behind treating it separately because they are two separate aquifers, but there is a connection between the two, and so it could be argued both ways, I think, as to whether it should be included in the bigger picture or not. So from my standpoint, that's what I would like to see, is that be included as part of the bigger picture. But thank you for the information and the update. Thank you.
Any other questions for Ben or for Kyle? Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda for miscellaneous, Commissioner French, I-90 Aerospace Conference sponsorship.
So the aerospace organization here in Spokane County in northern Idaho previously was known as NWAC and is now as NEMA, is a organization to promote aerospace and advanced manufacturing in Spokane County and Kootenai County, and we have not contributed to that organization, even though we have multiple times indicated that we are supportive of the work that they do in advancing advanced manufacturing and aerospace in this market. And so our participation with them has been through their annual conference that is held in May, and we've been participating with them for the last, I believe, 5 years. That participation is at a cost of $2,500 that we then have a booth that at the conference that we also market the opportunities to aerospace companies throughout the West Coast and Western Canada that attend this conference and stuff. So I'm asking for the board to continue that contribution of $2,500 so that we can be represented in the conference in terms of our interests. We do have now the federal money that's coming to the Tech Hub out in the West Plains, and so that will be one of the features of this conference that will include representatives from Boeing, Collins, Raytheon, Schweitzer Engineering, and a variety of other aerospace and high-tech companies that are interested in Spokane and interested in the aerospace industry and stuff. So we did not include it in our budget for 25, but I think this is a priority that we've maintained historically, and requesting that the board consider participating in the conference here. It does entitle the county to free admittance, I think, for 4 people. Yeah, and other marketing opportunities for the county and stuff. So it's not just being able to set up a booth. It's actually being able to market the county. So anyway, that's my request.
Just knowing we're going to have budget issues as we move forward, is this something that now that S3R3 is up and running would be a better use of S3R3 dollars because they're really promoting that area collectively?
Yeah, and S3R3 is already part of the conference convention.
Are they a sponsor for the?
They're contributing to it, yes. I don't know whether they're identified as a sponsor or not. I can find out.
I'm thinking as we move forward for the
Yeah.
future, we'd probably want to have them being the sponsor, not the county being the sponsor for it.
If the direction is that S3R3 would then represent the interest of S3R3, that would be that. But because a lot of these companies are actually located in your district and Commissioner Kern's out in the valley and stuff, that's why we treated it as much more of a county issue as opposed to just S3R3, because that S3R3 is just limited to the West Plains.
I don't know, maybe this is something I need Jeff to look into. I thought I could have this wrong. I thought we didn't sponsor last year, but we bought tickets for folks. And I don't remember it coming with a booth. And if it did, who manned the booth for us over the conference?
So the original manning of the booth was done by Jared Webley. And in fact, as I remember, I think it was Jared that actually put the booth together, but it could also have been involved with Martha Lou Wheatley too. And she's shaking her head, so it must have been just Jared that put the booth together and actually manned it for us.
Okay.
Well, because
I'm just thinking Pat, you know. No, I don't remember there being a booth. I remember. I think I attended 1 or 2 days my first year as a commissioner. So I think we have sponsored this as far back as like 2017.
Yeah.
Because I know I went a couple days in 2017 to it, and I didn't remember us having a booth, I guess is what I'm getting at. But I thought last year we had moved away from the sponsorship, but we had purchased tickets to the event, and and whoever wanted to go could go. But
Yeah.
I could be wrong on that. That was my recollection.
Yeah, either way, I think you might be right, because I don't think we had anybody that could, I mean, Jared was all in terms of marketing the county and stuff, and so, but you could be right, it could be just buying tickets.
And I think when we had the booth was when WIR was going to be in Spokane County, the Western Interstate Regions for NACO. And so we did a whole booth thing that we went to other NACO events and had the year ahead of that. So I think I don't think we've ever updated the booth since then.
Yeah, I don't think we've updated the booth since we originally did it and stuff, but we have reused the booth a number of times.
Yes.
So if we wanted to buy tickets, that's fine. This is the time to buy tickets. It's going to be the end of May is the conference date. And so we can either sponsor a booth or I think the only difference is if you're a sponsor, then you're on the literature and the advertising and all that kind of stuff. If we buy tickets, we're just an attendee, but whatever be the will of the board, I'm happy with.
Commissioner Waldron.
And I don't know any of the history behind it, but I do remember the tickets conversation at maybe in the last 2 years. But I guess I'm just wondering, would the would S3R3 or the city of Spokane Valley with their economic development team, would those be the folks maybe best positioned to promote the different areas for manufacturing, within the county? Just wondering if they're already attending and if that is something that they're going to be doing.
I don't have the answer to that question, but I can find out, let you know. I can find out from the NEMA folks who has signed up already as a sponsor and get that information, then come back next week.
Can you send us a link, or if you have a pamphlet that just lays out the levels
Oh,
of
sure.
sponsorship?
Yeah.
Where,
No, I
where
can
we
do
want
that.
to come in?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else miscellaneous before we get to media and press releases and proclamations?
Yeah, I had one, I know a couple weeks ago brought up about Public Works wanting us to look at doing some type of ribbon cutting type event out at Newman Lake. Wanted to throw out a date if it worked for folks, if they wanted to check their calendars. Was looking at possibly, we're looking at the end of May. Just going to throw out May 28th. It's a Wednesday. Anybody has any objections to that? I mean, we can determine on time of day. We'll work with Martha Lou and Pat and the folks with Public Works, but just to at least narrow it down to a day.
That's a good day for me before 3:30.
Okay.
That works for me. I will be out of town. I'll be zooming in those meetings that week.
Okay. Are you okay with us?
Yes.
Okay. So.
Where's your branch? You may be at the conference.
I will be at the conference. The aerospace conference is, well, it's actually all day on May 27th. I do not have it on May 28th, so it might be that it's just a one-day conference, in which case I'd be available.
Okay. So Martha Lou, May 28th. All right, there we go. And then I did have one other item I was going to ask. For this Friday with the city joint meeting, is there, I know we have discussed topics. Is there an agenda, a draft agenda going around?
It's gonna be, but I have
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Okay.
Anything else? Okay. So Council President Wilkerson and the City of Spokane has kind of put together a draft agenda. It is a presentation from the sheriff and the chief on drug enforcement efforts. I mean, it's focused around the opioid dollars. As you heard me ask Dr. Zing to have her speak for about 15 minutes on just kind of what she's seen from last year to this year. And then Justin Johnson and Maggie will talk about kind of what the county and what the city are looking at for opioid, kind of what the council what is proposed for that. And I am still trying to get Shrek on the agenda.
What's the total time?
2 hours is our total time.
What does this get us to, though? 40, 55, that's only an hour and 10.
And there's a potential executive session that will be happening. So.
Okay.
And I'm hoping to get Shrek on for 15 minutes so we can get the information out. So that's the draft agenda as of today. And trying to add we didn't want to add too many things to it, otherwise then we're going to get bogged down and not have enough time to cover what we need to cover together. So that's why homeless isn't on the agenda at this point in time. We're really focused on, as the city council is looking to make decisions on opioid dollars, and as we're looking at our opioid dollars, kind of having that as part of the discussion.
So the focus areas, just to reiterate, are opioid, substance treatment, investments, and then criminal justice issues between the city and the county, and just working. Is that what was the second time?
Well, it's really the drug enforcement effort.
Okay.
So it's really all around the opioid settlement dollars. As the city council is looking to make a joint decision to come alongside Spokane County. So really want to make sure that we're all informed as to what the sheriff's office and what the chief are seeing. With drug enforcement efforts, are we seeing changes happening between the two? And then that's why having the medical examiner there to say, what is law enforcement seeing versus what is the reality of what's happening in our streets at this point in time, and then how we're looking to use those dollars.
So I'm sorry, what was the third item then that you mentioned?
Justin Johnson and Maggie Yates will be talking about kind of what they're looking at for the dollars.
Okay. Yeah, I think it would be, and so that'll be an opportunity to talk about the expansion of the Crisis Stabilization Center, because I know there was some, I don't know how familiar some of the city council members are about what that current stabilization center does today, because many of them weren't around when it was funded and developed, 5-6 years ago. So
and also what's happening at STARS.
Right. Okay, thank you.
So it's really trying to get all that information so it's out there for everyone to know and understand. So, and it will be I think at the health district. We've confirmed we're going to be doing it down at the health district from 10:30 to 12:30, and this is again just draft at this point in time. It's not finalized, and we'll get it finalized and get it out to meet our notice requirements. Commissioner Jordan?
On a related note, just wanted to share that I had a chance on Friday with some of the staff from the different offices to go visit STARS and kind of see the facility. You really get a good sense of kind of the triage area, the sobering beds, and the withdrawal management upstairs, and kind of how it's all right there. So there was good dialogue. This is maybe something to talk about at the meeting, but with the sheriff's office as well, about how to direct people who would be appropriate for that program. So I just wanted to say that was really great to do if anybody else gets a chance to do as well.
That spurred my thought around, would it be beneficial, and maybe you've already thought about this, Madam Chair, to have Misty from the health district's opioid treatment program or others from the health district just available for if there's any questions. I know that we've been discussing making investments to have more hours for drop-in for folks to access opioid treatment. So just wondering, there may be some questions that Justin's fairly knowledgeable, but just in case there were some questions about from the health district's perspective, I didn't know if you were thinking about inviting them.
No, I mean, because I'm not inviting STARS either, which is where we're looking at providing some of those investments, or as we've already, contracted with Pioneer for the 23 hours. So I think just to try to keep our timing tight.
We could always identify questions for those agencies for follow-up.
Okay. I think so. So it is at the health district, so they're welcome to attend and understand the questions. I do believe it will be streamed on, Pat, you can talk about the setup.
Good morning. Yes, Ron and I took a tour over there. It's a very nice room. It's where I think the Board of Health meetings are held. It's well equipped to host public meetings, at least for public attendance. There won't be public participation in the meeting according to the agenda because it's a joint meeting. So the WebEx and the Zoom are less of a priority. So I believe the city is planning to have it on WebEx. We'll make sure that that's updated on our outlets. And then today I'm going to work to confirm our understanding with City 5. The room's perfectly set up for them to either record and upload later or to broadcast it. But WebEx will likely be the vehicle for making it publicly available for anybody who wants to attend publicly. But again, no participation component since it's a meeting between the council and the commission.
Yes, I believe that's my understanding. Since it's a special meeting, we do not have to have public comment.
No, and then the city's going to run the WebEx meeting. Jacoby will have his laptop there and actually run the meeting for the virtual option.
Okay.
For presentations and PowerPoint slide decks and things, Jacoby had put his hand up and said he would handle the clicking.
Very good.
And I haven't used WebEx for a while. I think at the beginning of the pandemic, I had to log into some meetings using WebEx. Is that publicly available to any citizen, no matter if they have that program, that software?
I haven't used WebEx since 2020 myself, so I Jacoby, no stuff.
I remember back in 2020, I was not a fan, but I assume that it's improved over the last 5 years.
We can reach out to Jacoby and the city to verify.
Obviously, if they're using it for that's what they use for their city council live meetings, so people are able to access and get on. Okay, thanks.
And I think the hope is also that if City 5 is carrying it live or broadcasting it, in addition to the WebEx, there's kind of two different vehicles. For people who are used to watching the city council via WebEx, they can watch it there. However it comes out, we'll make sure that it gets shared on our stream so people know where to tune in.
Okay. Well, then we're going to be attempting to have this combined meeting, so we'll see how it goes. So let's see. So then I think any other miscellaneous items? Okay. Then I'm going to hand it off to Pat for media press and
Yes.
proclamations.
So I'll start on proclamations. We're heading into proclamation season here. We'll have 3, it looks like, slated for next week, and those should be familiar to you. We'll have the National Correction Officers Week resolution prepared. We have down, that's May 4th through 10th, so we're going to run that one on time. We have National Therapy Animal Day. That will be Commissioner Jordan who's bringing that one forward, I believe, if I'm correct. No?
I'm happy to, but I thought it was Commissioner French.
Commissioner French, sorry.
I'll second it.
Very good.
Just put everybody on notice about that. I'll be really fast.
Good. Okay, we'll make that correction. And then we'll have Behavioral Health or Mental Health Awareness Month. That was requested by Justin Johnson. And we had as a sponsor Commissioner Cuny for Mental Health Awareness Month. Can be read by the chair or the vice chair, or if another commissioner wants to pick it up. Okay, so that will be sponsor and read by Commissioner Chair Cuny. So that's it for proclamations for now. We will have several more proclamations coming in May. On the sports teams, I just wanted to mention Martha Lou's been in touch with Northwest Christian, and we're tracking that information down. I think we're waiting to hear back from G-Prep, but those are on their statewide title wins, I believe.
So I got in touch with the G-Prep basketball coach yesterday, and I sent you an email right before this, Martha Lou, but you're here, so that's great. And so I just wasn't sure. I need to connect him with Martha Lou, but are we trying to arrange multiple teams on the same day? I didn't know what the goal was and what the date is that you're targeting.
I think in talking with Martha Lou, as you can imagine, it's difficult to get all those students on a bus, permission slips with a coach. Some of the teams, we were going to offer them, if that's too difficult to do before the end of the school year, we could mail them a proclamation, or somebody could offer to go out and present it, to the team. The other option we would have is that a coach or a principal or an athletic director could come speak and receive it with potentially a student athlete or not, just depending on what works for them. But ideally, yes, I think it's nice to have kind of a sports day if that works out with schedules. But we'll try to be flexible and accommodate them. Just not trying to get more than 2 or 3 proclamations a week. I think it just makes for a longer meeting, and there's people coming and going during the meeting. So if that sounds good.
So I'll just follow up and give you his contact information, Martha Lou, so you can arrange.
Is it Annie?
Mm-hmm.
I sent him an email.
Yeah. I texted him last night, so I'll get it to you. Okay.
Have we ever done I know there's only so many proclamations that you can do, but there's no bad idea in brainstorming. Have we ever done a therapeutic court month proclamation before? And the reason I ask is I got an email from Judge Zamblin a couple weeks ago, which I missed, asking the city and county to consider a proclamation for May being therapeutic court month. Apparently the governor did a proclamation, Fitzgerald might be interested in participating in that as a big advocate of Veterans Court. Just a question.
Yeah, I don't know that we have, but happy to do it.
Okay, we got 3 on that one, so we'll add that one to the mix. Speaking of proclamations, I think there's some information in the chair's inbox. We did receive notification from OFM and in Commissioner Jordan's inbox, or Chrissy has it, that there were 2 volunteers, statewide volunteers who were named. It's like an award for volunteers. One who's been involved with the Food Network in Spokane, kind of a community food bank type situation. And then the other was for Washington Fallen Heroes Project as a volunteer organization. And so Martha Lou and I are doing some brainstorming on appropriate timing for that, if you want to send a personal note versus do a proclamation. But OFM notified us at the state level yesterday through the commissioner's email form. So just for awareness, those 2 came through. I think both one's in Washington Fallen Heroes is in 5 Mile, and the other one's in West Central, the individual who's running the food operation. So that's those 2. And then on press releases, if there's no more proclamations at the moment, a couple anticipating board action on several interlocal agreements coming forward soon. I did get an email from the city's communications director around a topic, and I need to connect with Scott on that. I wasn't aware of that particular interlocal agreement, but we will look at that and see if it's something that's on homelessness, a topic that Scott and I are going to connect on. And then anticipating something around a briefing session with Justin on the co-responder program, which a number of you, maybe all of you, have been involved with City of Spokane and Spokane Fire. So I will be out next week, but if there's a need for a press release, if the board action for some reason comes up next week, if not the 29th, at the 29th meeting, we'll have something prepared for you all to consider. Quote from the chair and probably Justin, but open to board feedback on that or desires. So those are the 2 big ones that are coming. Justin has a number of other things that are in development, but the timelines are kind of in flux as agreements are being finalized. It's all around MHST or opioid settlement funds.
You look like you're ready to take off.
Yeah, I have to be at STA by noon for another meeting and stuff, so.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I think I've got a noon lunch. I don't know if Amber does. So, okay. Looking to Mr. Simmons and Mr. Folsom, because I think we have some executive sessions we may need to delay till this afternoon.
We're fine to delay 3 executive session items, 2 that are pending in potential litigation, and 1 an acquisition of real estate.
Okay, and how long do you anticipate all 3 of those taking?
2 litigation pieces, about 25 minutes.
And then the acquisition of real estate is probably about 5 minutes. We could tuck that in right now.
Okay.
Shouldn't be anything longer than 5.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that one right now.
Okay.
So we're going to go into executive session for 5 minutes. Is that what you said, Mr. Simmons? If you would like to state the purpose and who shall be in attendance?
Sure will. 1 executive session item for acquisition, lease of real estate under RCW 4230 110-1B. That'll include the board, Matt Folsom, myself, Doug Chase, Jasper Coulter, and Jeff McMorris. 5 minutes, no action. Nope.
Okay, so we will adjourn. We're going to go into executive session. I apologize that we're going to go into executive session for the reasons just stated with the people in attendance, no action. So we will adjourn after that and see everybody back for our 2 o'clock, which we'll have our 2 o'clock meeting, and we'll have a couple executive sessions after that. So thank you all very much.